Good morning, folks. Captain Mark here from Kings Landing Sport Fishing. It's actually Saturday, June 4th today, and I want to give you a report. I was out last night and figured I'd give you a report. Today I was actually supposed to be fishing the tournament out of Newport. Unfortunately, due to the winds, it got canceled, so I'm at home today doing a bunch of jobs around the house, and I'm going to be heading to the boat later on this afternoon as I have a trip out tomorrow morning. But anyways, gonna do a report on last night, as I was out last night and actually had some pretty good success. But the lake has changed a lot, and I want to share what's happened. That being said, before I do that, a couple of things I want to touch on before I go into the report. First of all, I was talking with a bunch of captains, and some folks said to me, "Hey, Mark, it'd be great if you could mention this when you do the videos, especially this time of year, but actually, frankly, all year." A lot of the boats, not only recreational fishermen but also charter boats, especially, we're running a lot of long lines, on our planer boards, and I share that because we've already had instances this year of boats cutting in behind another boat way too close, and unfortunately catching those long lines. I'll tell you right now, it's not uncommon for folks to be running even 300-400. Behind them, depending on what they're targeting. If they're targeting the cooler water kings, they could have a 400 out. I know myself, if I think about last night, I had 5 long lines out. My longest one between the board line and what I actually had out behind was probably 350 behind the boat. So, my ask would be, hey guys, when you see another boat, don't just think, hey, I'm going to give them 100, 200 feet and I'm going to turn in behind them. In a lot of cases, these boats are either running very long leaders on their divers or their riggers, or in the case of a lot of these boats with planer boards, it's not uncommon, especially later in the season. Like I will often run, a 400 weighted steel, which by the time you factor in the planer board line, by the time you factor in the leader on that rod, that can be in excess of 550, 600 feet of line out. So really you should really be keeping, about 600 plus feet of distance between, the back of a boat, if you're going to turn out. So just, that's the one thing I would say. I'd ask that people be cautious of that when you're out fishing around a lot of different boats, as we got a lot of lines out, and when a boat cuts in behind and catches some of those lines, it can cost us $100, $150, $200 in line and gear. When you think about the cost of, whether it be copper, lead core, weighted steel, let alone the flasher and the rigs that we have on behind. So if you can keep a distance when you're turning, that'd be great. I would typically say, 600 feet is a good rule of thumb. Let the boat pass before you come in behind. That's what I try to do when I'm turning behind another boat. Second thing, this year it's pretty awesome. We are seeing a ton of Atlantic salmon. I think I've already had 2 or 3 on my boat this year, and just a few times I've been out. I've spoken to others that have had the same as me, if not more. I'm seeing pictures all over Facebook of some really nice sized Atlantics, but I'm also seeing some pictures of small ones too. This is a friendly reminder. The current slot size for an Atlantic salmon on the Canadian side of Lake Ontario, I believe, is 63 centimeters, which is about 25 inches. Anything small on that has to be released. And you really shouldn't be even taking a picture of it. You should be just getting it off the hook, back in the water. We caught one last night. It was way under 2 feet. It was probably about 1.5 feet. And, didn't even take a picture, quickly released that in the water. They're fragile fish, want to make sure they can live to swim another day and hopefully spawn. I know there's lots of controversy about the Atlantic stocking program. I'm not going to get into that right now. That being said, we are seeing a ton of Atlantics of all sizes this year, more than I've personally ever seen. So I think it's a good news story overall. But just please make sure when you get your fish, identify it. Make sure it is an Atlantic salmon. Sometimes people mix them up for cohos or browns. I'd say most of the spots we're catching the Atlantic salmons, typically you won't catch brown there. So if you've got a salmon with lots of those, larger black dots on it, that's usually the telltale that it's an Atlantic. When you're trolling, especially like on the North Shore, for example, when we're not trolling in the skinny water, we're trolling out deep. But yeah, 63 centimeters. Please don't retain those fish if they're below 63 centimeters. Myself, I personally don't like to retain any of the Atlantics. I like to release them all. But again, if it's over 63, it's your call. So with that, let's get into the report. And before I do that, for those of you that are new to my channel, don't forget to click the like button and don't forget to click the subscribe button. It helps me out a great deal as a YouTube content producer. So last night I went out for an evening fish, and it was interesting. Got out on the water and immediately noticed that the water had changed. And again, I was fishing out of bluffers, so I powered up and we set up lines right around the filtration plant in about 120 to 130 feet of water, trolling west towards the Toronto Islands. And I immediately noticed the water had changed. Surface temperature was still decent, 55, 56 on the surface. But once I got below 35 feet, I immediately dropped down to 42, 41, even in some cases 40 degrees Fahrenheit water temperature. So it had really, really cooled off. And I wasn't seeing the same level of active marks on the sonar. That being said, I'd spoken to a few other guys earlier, and they'd been telling me that they'd been getting some fish between really the filtration plant and the Toronto Islands. So stayed the course and trolled out towards the islands. I know there was a couple of storm cells that went through last night. Fortunately for us, we didn't really get interfered by them much. We got a little bit of rain on one, a bit of wind kicked up, but otherwise it was pretty good for us weather-wise. So long and short of it, I was running a pretty good sized spread yesterday. So I had 5 long lines out, and because of the information I'd been given previously, as well as the information from using my speed and temperature system, I could see that I was going to have to fish a really narrow band of water, call it, from 10 feet down to really 35 feet down. So, for me, I had call it 3 weighted steels out. I had a 100 weighted steel with a hot fish, I call it Coho Killer spoon. It's a copper back, orange and black front. That was on the 100 weighted steel. The 150 weighted steel, I had a 6-inch Spin Doctor bright orange with a small Coho fly, really, really small little fly, almost like teaser fly, peanut fly, that's what they call them, peanut fly. I had a 200 weighted steel out with just an 8-inch flasher and fly. Those were my three weighted steels. And then on that course, I put a 6 color out and I put a 7 color out. So that was my 5 long lines. From there, diver-wise, I switched things up from my last trips. I actually went with two standard divers, and what I did was they were both slide divers, but I actually put orange bases on them. So they were bright orange. On one of them, I had a hot fish standard size spoon, glow and UV with orange dots. And then the other one, I just had it was a spoon that I painted myself. It was a silver spoon with like a green antifreeze on one side. And I ran those, and I didn't even bother really stretching the leader. I just had about an 8 or 9 foot, fluorocarbon 20-pound lead from the diver to the spoons, because I wanted to use that orange diver as an attractor. And then on the riggers, I had one with a spoon, just like a mixed veggie spoon with a lemon ice slider, and then I had another one with a hot fish, custom Project Salmon, glow split personality with black dots flasher on it, and bait head with Twinkie flies. And that was my spread. And, we did really, really well. Like, I honestly don't know how many bites we had. We probably at least released 10 or 12 shakers, and I don't even really count those right now. And then we probably had another, I'm going to say, probably 15 bites. Unfortunately, we did lose 3 really, really nice kings, really, really nice screamers that came on the 100 weighted steel. So we lost those. That being said, we did get a really nice 20-pound king on my deep rigger, 55 feet down. That was my deepest, and that was in like 41 degree water. We got a 20-pound king on the Project Salmon split personality, glow with black dots flasher, with a hot fish bait head. And actually, I was running Team Underdog meat in that strip. It was one that I'd actually used the previous week, and I put it out again, and it worked just fine. Actually, it took 3 fish before it got retired because the 20-pound king just smashed it. So that was it for kings. Cohos, we got a bunch of cohos. I think we ended up retaining 3 or 4 that the guys took home with them, but I think we got a few more than that as well. Really, really nice cohos. They were coming on that hot fish Coho Killer spoon or those orange divers. as well as we got a couple of cohos on the orange Spin Doctor with the green peanut fly. And then we got a bunch of nice rainbows. A couple of rainbows on the riggers, and I think we got one on, I want to say it was the 6 or the 7 color. So, what I would say though is the vast majority, like I said, we got a lot of bites last night. The vast majority of our bites came on the long lines. If we were only fishing the riggers and 2 divers, we would have probably had maybe 8 to 10 bites. The fact that we had the long lines out, we got a lot more bites. So that's the report. Now I know it's been blowing today, not too bad. Looking at the weather and wind forecast, it does show that it's gonna be cooling the lake down a bit. So I think you may have to look for some warmer water. That being said, as I look at the lake, I don't see pockets of excessively warm water. So I think that may help, where it may not scatter the fish too much, and that's probably why I was still finding fish last night in a very narrow column. But I tell you, it's times like this, you really need a speed and temperature system like the Smart Troll 2 that I've got, or like the Fish Hawk. You really need those systems, because a couple of things. There's a lot of current in the water, and you might find that you're trolling too slow without. And the second thing is the temperatures. You might see 55-degree water on the surface and think, oh, we're good. You start putting your lines down into that 40, 50, 60 feet of water that you're comfortable fishing in normally, and it's ice cold. And the challenge is a lot of sonars don't mark a lot of that high fish because the cone's too narrow up high. So, that's the risk you run if you don't have some of these speed and temp systems right now. Anyways, that's the report. I'll be out again, Sunday morning tomorrow, and I'll hopefully send you guys another report tomorrow afternoon. But like I said, please be courteous to other fishermen, especially when they're with long lines. Try and keep that 600 feet of distance before you start turning behind them. And if you're catching Atlantics, please make sure you release any of those fish under the slot size. It's really important. Anyways, have a great day, folks, and be safe there out in the lake. The water is cold, so make sure you're being overly safe this time of year. Talk to you later, folks. Have a good one. Bye.